Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something.
So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast.
Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionates, newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I have observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel. Same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you're new here, affirmations are our first order of business so we can intentionally raise the vibration and start on one accord. Let's get on the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead, take a deep breath. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. I am at peace. I am tranquil. I am collected. I am centered. I am serene. I accept the things I cannot change. I am courageous and encouraged to change what I can. I am wise enough to know the difference. I am healing. I am healing. I am well. It is well. All is well. Well is all. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So Passionates, back in June at the end of season 6, we did an episode on apology. It was titled, Apology is an Art, Do You Know How? It was episode 11. It should be linked here, but YouTube be playing with me, so I might look like I'm just pointing up. Nonetheless, the link will be in the description. Point is, in that episode, I told y'all if you wanted an episode on how to accept an apology, let me know. A lot of you said you needed some coaching with accepting. It took a while because there were a few other things I needed to cover with you. And I also wanted to take a little bit of time and do some research outside of my own opinion to see what the interwebs had to say. I'm not going to share any one post or article today. What I found for the most part was what I was already thinking, but there were definitely some places where my face was absolutely giving. And I say that because the reality is accepting anything you don't feel is good enough is trash. So accepting an apology can very much fall under that umbrella. So while this episode isn't necessarily going to be in your face and make you feel personally attacked, if you're really working on accepting an apology, this episode is probably going to stretch you further than saltwater taffy. Pens and notebooks out, Passionates. This won't take long, but it will take notes, reflection, and introspection. First question, what's the purpose of the apology? Why is it necessary? Do you feel like you need it or do you feel like you deserve it? Do you kind of not need it but feel like it's appropriate for the transgression? Because before you stand nose in the sky awaiting this apology, Ask yourself, what's the point of it? Why? We talked about the challenges of offering an apology that you feel may not be accepted. And we addressed the person that says,
nah, Passion, I'm not groveling for anyone. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna go through all that just to be shut down. That's like you trying to punish me. If I can humble myself and apologize, you should be able to accept that I admitted I was wrong.
do they sound crazy? Yes. Do they sound arrogant? Absolutely. And some of them have absolutely no bounds to take that position. However, if the purpose of the apology really is only to see them grovel or humble themselves or to make yourself feel better because now you get to see them in an uncomfortable position, there really is no point to the apology. That's not about contrition, repair, or reconciliation. That's bruised ego trying to turn the tables from feeling like the victimized to being the one in control, which really just equates to you being a victimizer. You may not agree with that. But if the only way you'll accept the apology is after you believe they've experienced the injury you've experienced, you're no better than them. You might be worse. And if you take it too far, you might accept the apology finally, but they might reject the continuing of the relationship because now they're looking at you differently. Second question, what is this person's personality? Like, generally speaking, what has your overall experience with them been like? I know two people that are self-proclaimed a-holes. Their descriptions, not mine. One talks crazy to people when they get ready, when they feel like they're being challenged or attacked, when they feel like offering unsolicited opinion for their own amusement. The other loves sarcasm and condescension. They're amused by that. They always speak that way and either don't know how or just refuse to turn it off. The former, if you tell them you felt disrespected or hurt by what they said or did, if you matter to them, they will immediately apologize almost every time. Now, have there been instances where it wasn't so immediate and it was more of a, I'm sorry you took it that way apology? Yes. And that was followed up with apologizing to someone for how they responded. Is just shy of challenging their comprehension, emotional intelligence, and ability to process their feelings.
Passion, you making it way deeper than it actually is. I'm sorry you took it that way means you didn't take it the way I meant it.
And beloved, if it was received any other way than intended, that is the responsibility of the speaker, not the listener. Inflection, tone, delivery, those are all part of speech. The latter, on the other hand, falls into the category, and so many of us are very callous in our acknowledgement of how our behavior is received. If we're entertained by what we said, and we expect the other person to be entertained as well, even if the action or statement was at their expense, we feel like they should laugh and not take it so personal. You need to learn to take a joke. You need to lighten up. You're too sensitive. It wasn't that deep. You feel in some way violated or harmed emotionally, mentally, even spiritually. And I feel like, well, yeah, but I'm amused. So put your feelings to the side and laugh with me because I think you too should be amused. And it's even when someone states directly that they were bothered by what was said or done, very often there's an extended period before the person who made the statement or did the action will actually relent. We know what relent means? I gotta make sure because we need to be clear that relenting is not immediate accountability or correction. Relenting is after saying all the reasons the other person should take your statement or action in stride and them holding their ground and saying, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. That's not gonna fly. That ain't it. I got a problem with what's happening here. And this energy don't change until you change. You finally say, all right, it was just a joke. And even then, there's still this struggle to be guiltless. It was a joke. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just kidding. And more times than not, it's not just those statements being made, but the tone of the delivery. They are stubborn and unrelenting and will spend more time justifying the wrong than correcting it. Are either one of them terrible people? No. They're actually great people with great things to offer and an asset to everyone whose lives they touch. That said, conflict with either one of these people can go south very quickly. I know their personalities. I know the former isn't apologizing if they don't mean it. I know if they apologize, it's sincere. I know if they're apologizing that I took it that way, They legitimately don't understand why it was received poorly in the first place. But I also know there are levels to why they don't understand it, and that's going to require discourse. And I'm willing to engage in the discourse and talk through it, even if it gets a little spicy, because I know that the discussion has value beyond their entertainment. Now, with the latter, I know there may never be an apology, because they would rather die on a hill of justifications for why they said or did something and challenge my intelligence than say, I apologize, it was not my intention to offend you. It really was just a joke. I was just kidding. This brings us to the biggest plot twist. More times than not, accepting the apology isn't about accepting the apology at all. It's about accepting the situation. What did we say in the previous episode? An apology never made anything unhappen. True or true? So, as we talked about in this previous episode, the point of apology is to acknowledge that there was a transgression and express some type of remorse for it. But if the only thing an apology can offer is acknowledgement or an advisory that whatever happened wasn't intentional, then being able to accept the apology is far less the priority than being able to accept that the thing happened. It can't unhappen. It can't be undone. And the only thing you can do is move on. What?
Pastor, could you please be so for real right now?
Be in your feelings, kiss your teeth, and roll your eyes. But while you're doing all of that, think about what I'm saying. I want us to do an exercise, but please note, this could be extremely triggering. So if you think you might be triggered, sit this out. If you know that you are healed enough to reflect on your deepest hurt that you received an apology for, whether you accepted it or not, but especially if you didn't accept it, how did that go? I'm talking about the ugly cry, snot bubbles, and sweat pleaded. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I'll do anything to take it back. I'll do anything to fix it. I'm talking about on their knees at your feet, begging for you to accept their apology and forgive them. Other than acknowledge their regret or sorrow for their statement or action or your reaction, what did the apology do? Because if the apology didn't fix it for real, if it didn't reverse the transgression, how were you able to get past it? Truth is, the only way to get past it is to accept that you can't change it. And you have two options. Let it go and choose your peace, or hold on to it and let it eat you up until it either consumes you mentally and emotionally or until it becomes a physical manifestation like arthritis. And past it and over it are two different things. I just said that to someone recently. Over it. We can talk about it. I'm not triggered. You're not in danger of violence. Past it.
Let sleeping dogs lie, because if you start, I'm going to finish when I finish. And I can't advise when that'll be, but it most assuredly won't be when you're ready to stop hearing it. Because if you didn't want to hear about it, you never should have brought it up.
You see the difference? Question 3. Do you believe that apology acceptance and forgiveness are synonymous? If yes, this could be why you struggle to accept certain apologies. Y'all know what time it is. What a dictionary definition. That's what passion takes action towards show your vocab is expanded. If you know the word is cool, know the meaning even better than the segment, just a moment of enhancement. Let's start with the definition of forgiveness and see what our good friends Merriam and Webster have to say about it. Forgive is a transitive verb meaning to cease to feel resentment against an offender. Pardon. To give up resentment of or claim to requital for. And to grant relief from payment of, as in debt forgiveness. The root word in requital is requite, which means to make return for and to make retaliation for. And for good measure, I've also included the definition of requital. Look here at what the synonyms for forgive are. Excuse, condone, and pardon. Now let's go back to the definition of apology for a second. Apology, by definition, is a regretful acknowledgement of an offense or failure. Now, that's per Oxford Languages. That's the current definition. Dictionary.com says a written or spoken expression of one's regret, remorse, or sorrow for having insulted, failed, injured, or wronged another. Merriam-Webster 1A says an admission of error or discourtesy accompanied by an expression of regret. And 2A says something that is said or written to defend something that other people criticize. Now let's look up accept. Accept means to receive something offered willingly, to be able or designed to take or hold something applied or added, to give admittance or approval to endure without protest or reaction, to regard as proper, normal, or inevitable, to recognize as true, to make a favorable response to agree to undertake, to assume an obligation to pay, to receive officially. So if acceptance is willingly receiving something, and an apology is an admission of error or discourtesy accompanied by an expression of regret, then accepting an apology is receiving the acknowledgement that a transgression of some sort occurred. Nowhere in that does it state or imply that accepting an apology is granting pardon or saying it's okay. If anything, it's saying I acknowledge your acknowledgement of your grievance. That's it. Going back to forgive, according to AntiochGT.com, psychologists define forgiveness as a conscious, deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person who has harmed you, regardless of whether they actually deserve your forgiveness. Now, I don't know who Antioch Georgetown is, okay? But since they brought the psychologists into it, I want to verify that as well. According to the American Psychological Association, right, APA.org, forgiveness involves willfully putting aside feelings of resentment towards someone who has committed a wrong, been unfair or hurtful, or otherwise harmed you in some way. Forgiveness is not merely accepting what happened or ceasing to be angry. Rather, it involves a voluntary transformation of your feelings, attitudes, and behavior so that you are no longer dominated by resentment and can express compassion, generosity, or the like toward the person who wronged you. Are we clear now that accepting an apology and forgiving a transgression aren't the same? Are we also clear that forgiving the transgression isn't the same as forgiving the transgressor?
Not really, because how you forgive one without the other?
Okay, White Bear cheated on Tan Bear with Brown Bear. White Bear knew Tan Bear and Brown Bear were family and close. White Bear also knew that while Tan and Brown Bears were close, Brown Bear didn't know Tan Bear and White Bear were dealing with each other because they wanted to keep their thing low. Tan Bear is hurt deeply by the situation when Tan Bear finds out. Tan Bear can forgive the transgression, the cheating, because you know what? You cheated, that's extra whack, but we can fine tune that and figure out how to get past it with some counseling. Tan Bear can't and won't forgive White Bear, the transgressor, because while Brown Bear was in the dark and had no clue about what was going on, White Bear did and just didn't care. I wish I never met her at all. Oh, I wouldn't hurt so much inside. It wasn't just the action. It was, how could you do this to me? 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 5 different questions, and no number of answers will ever make Tan Bear want to express compassion, generosity, or even civility to White Bear ever again in this lifetime or any other for that matter. Take a look at this clip from season 2 finale. You can't lie to me about everything for a year and then expect me to take you at your word a year later. The lasting impression that you left is that you're a liar, period. You can't steal from me and then expect me to welcome you back into my home, even if everything is glued down. Even if someone stole everything from you and almost took your life, so now you completely understand why I felt the way I felt. I didn't just feel that way about the situation. I felt that way about the person who caused it. Maybe because I thought more highly of you. Maybe because I've seen you behave differently in the same circumstance with other people. Maybe because I would never have done anything like that to you. So I just can't believe that you could so casually do that to me. That would be Tanbear's position, right? So how does Tanbear accept the apology? Tanbear can try this. Forgiving someone for something doesn't mean that the relationship isn't injured or altered. Now, we briefly talked about forgiveness in the last episode, and that it's more for the forgiver than the forgiven. But what if we change the vocabulary from forgive to forgo? If forgiveness, from the forgiver's perspective, implies to the receiver that what they did was somehow okay because you're not going to condemn them for the rest of their life, what if we instead decided to forgo? I forego the option of hating or resenting you. I don't respect your actions. I've lost respect for you as an individual, but I acknowledge that you do have the potential to grow and change and do better. The acceptance that what is done and can't be undone in no way is pardon. I think that may help to establish the boundary that while you're not going to harp on it, your opinion of them or your opinion of the relationship is now altered. Question 4. What's your timeline? Do you have one? If you have imposed a timeline on yourself, you'll be stressed. The infractor doesn't get to give you a cutoff for how long the apology is valid. If they mean it, it's always valid, accept it or not, right? You may not be able to speak to them. The sound of their voice might incite you to rage. Seeing them may turn you into a bull and they may become el matador. How do you accept the apology? Be ready to engage with the person. Come to the table or whatever meeting ground with your terms ready. The situation has left me with a stack of questions, some of which you may feel you've already answered, and some will come from the answers you provide. If you feel like that's more than you're willing to give, we can forego this meeting. And if they say,
then let's just skip it. I wanted to apologize again for my actions, for the damage, for whatever.
If they say, let's just skip it, and let that be that. But you don't get to then say they didn't apologize. You didn't apologize, and I didn't accept the apology you were offering is two different things. Question 1 was, what is the purpose of the apology? If you didn't or don't accept the apology because you don't think it was a grand enough gesture, that's on you. Now, while you're entitled to that, you're only entitled to the truth. The truth is that you didn't feel it was good enough. The truth is not that they didn't do anything. Question 5, and this is the final question. Do you know you don't have to accept the apology at all? We just looked at clips from season 2 finale. Now, I challenge you to go back and watch the last 5 episodes of season 2. That's Insulate versus Isolate, Remember Me, How to Mend, Dear Listener, They're Just Projecting, and the entire finale. With the exception of Remember Me, which was the legacy episode, all of those episodes tie into this one. Forgiveness is a choice, and accepting or declining an apology is also a choice. It is 100% fair to say,
I'm cool on the apology. I don't even want it. I don't want to know why you did it. I really don't care if it was unintentional, and I'm okay with you feeling like I'm out of bounds right now. We can stay at a stalemate. The best apology is change behavior. If your apology is sincere, don't do it again. Actions speak louder than words, so your actions over time will tell me how sincere this apology is.
Does that actually mean that the apology was insincere if the transgression occurs again? In my opinion, that depends on the gravity of the situation. If they broke something valuable to you because they're generally clumsy, they'll probably break something else. And it won't be because they don't care about your stuff. It's more about their awareness. Same way, if they previously broke something of yours in a fit of rage and they're prone to destruction when they're angry, you'll probably be in a loop of apologies that may have value to them still, but mean nothing to you after the first or second time. Bottom line is this: people going people. As babies and children, We're given words, but most of us aren't given meanings. Example, Jack and Johnny get into an altercation. Johnny pushes Jack. Jack starts crying. Jane comes over to see what the problem is. Jack says,
Johnny pushed me.
Jane asks Johnny,
Why?
Johnny gives a frivolous answer. Jane got other things to do. Jane says,
Say sorry.
Johnny says,
Sorry.
Jane says,
Now, Jack, say it's okay.
Jack says,
It's okay.
but it's not. It's not okay. He's not okay. This is not okay. But Jane got other things to do. So Jane says,
Now go play and no pushing.
and that's the practice going forward. So what was instilled was to offer a word of atonement with no desire to atone. What was also instilled was accepting this valueless and intentionless word in order to move forward. Break the cycle. Accept it if it's worth it, reject it if it's not. Accept it when you're ready. Until then, disengage. Either disengage from them in entirety or advise them that y'all gonna have to revisit this at another time. But before you go making requests and demands of someone else to do all this soul searching as to what this apology means to them and how sincere it is, search yourself. Search yourself. Your Get You Right Guru is signing off. Y'all go forth, be great, be filled with bliss, be armed and empowered with knowledge. Accept that the apology is the acknowledgement. Accept that while you don't have to believe their sincerity, you don't get to invalidate their sincerity because you feel the gesture wasn't grand enough. Accepting the apology isn't extending forgiveness. Neither is it offering an invitation back into your life. And if you still don't know how to accept the apology after that, it's more that you don't want to, not that you don't know how to. And that's okay, too. In all things, be passionate. See you later.